All right, guys. Today we're talking about section 2.5, solving absolute value equations. Okay, so it's equations that involve an absolute value symbol. We're going to solve equations that have that. We're also going to be able to write equations that model a real-life situation using absolute value. First thing is the definition of an absolute value. Okay, is the distance away from zero. Okay, the distance away from zero. It's how far away from zero is. And when you think about distances, you should realize that distance is always going to be positive. Always going to be positive. We don't say that the distance from Columbus to Cleveland is 100 miles and the distance to Cincinnati is negative 100 miles. We just say it's 100 miles. And so it's always positive. So some examples, if you have the absolute value of negative 10, that's just 10. If you have the absolute value of 5, that's just 5. Okay, so do a couple examples here. So we're just doing some evaluating. Let's try a couple together first. Okay, and then I'm going to have you hit pause and then try the rest of them and see if you got them right. So the first one on A, if you're going to try to find the absolute value of t if t is negative 15. So we're essentially finding the absolute value of negative 15. The absolute value of negative 15 is just positive 15. So there's that answer. Okay, for B, we got to take the absolute value of negative 4/5 first. Okay, so take the absolute value of negative 4/5. That's just positive 4/5. But then you got to throw that negative sign on the outside because it wasn't affected. So the answer to that is negative 4/5. What I want you to try to do, okay, is hit pause on the video, then try C through G. Try C through G. And then once you finish those guys, hit play, go ahead and watch and see if you got them right. If not, fix the ones you got wrong. Okay, so go ahead and hit pause. And then when you're done, move on. All right, so this guy here, C, we got to go negative 2 plus 6. That's the absolute value of 4. And the absolute value of 4 is just 4. Over here inside, or order of operations first, we have to do that exponent. Okay, so we need to find the absolute value of negative 9. Right? So the absolute value, you do 3 squared, which is 9, and then multiply by negative 1. But now the absolute value of negative 9 is just positive 9. Okay, if you plug in x equals 2 right there, you have 23 minus the absolute value of 3 minus 4 times 2. So we have 23 minus the absolute value of 3 minus 8. So you have 23 minus the absolute value of negative 5. Well, the absolute value of negative 5 is positive 5. So you have 23 minus 5. That final answer comes out to be 18. Over here, let's plug in negative 8. You have the absolute value of 6 plus 2 times negative 8. So we got to go 6 plus negative 16, or 6 minus 16. It's the same thing. 6 minus 16 is negative 10, so the absolute value of negative 10, and that just comes up being positive 10. Okay, and then this last one, take negative 6, plug it in there. We've got 2 minus 5 times the absolute value of 2 times negative 6, and then plus 4. So we have to go 2 times negative 6 first is negative 12 plus 4. So then you go 2 minus 5. Negative 12 plus 4 is negative 8. The absolute value of negative 8 is positive 8. So it's 2 minus 5 times 8. So in order of operations, we have to do the multiplication. 2 minus 40, and so that's negative 38. Doesn't mean our answers can never be negative. It just means the absolute value is going to can't be negative. Okay, so let's go and go to the back. Now we're going to solve the equations. When we take the absolute value of x to be 5, if we have the absolute value of x to be 5, we could get 2 possible answers. We know that the absolute value of 5 is 5. We also know that the absolute value of negative 5 is 5. Okay, so we know our 2 solutions here are either x equals 5 or x equals negative 5. We are going to be getting 2 answers for every one of these problems now. Okay, so what we do is we make 2 cases. The first one, like for A, is we just take f plus 5, and that just equals 17, just like normal. Now we set up a second equation, and we say f plus 5 could also be negative 17, because we can have the positive and we can have the negative. Now, we just solve those guys individually. If we subtract 5 over here, we get that f can be 12. If we subtract over 5 over here, we can get f is negative 22. There's my two answers. I can get 12 or I can get negative 22. Just double checking real quick. 12 plus 5 is 17, so that's right. Negative 22 plus 5 is negative 17, but the absolute value of negative 17 is positive 17. Okay? If we're looking at B, you always need to make sure we get the absolute value stuff by itself first. So if you're looking at B, we need to get rid of this plus 2. Okay? Well, the way that we can get rid of plus 2 is we need to subtract 2 on both sides. So now we have the absolute value of x minus 6 is equal to 10. Okay, so now we can go and set that up. We can say that x minus 6 equals 10. We can also say x minus 6 equals negative 10. So we're going to add 6 to both sides. We get x is 16. Add 6 over here, and that's negative 4. My two answers are 16 and negative 4. Okay, why don't you go ahead and try C real quick? Once you're finished with it, hit pause, try C, then hit play again, see if you got it right. Okay, first thing we gotta do is we're gonna have to subtract 7, so we get the absolute value of 4x minus 8 is gonna equal 12, which means 4x minus 8 could equal 12, or 4x minus 8 could equal negative 12. Solve it here. I'm gonna add 8. I'm going to add 8 on both sides. So I get 4x is 20, which means that x is 5. Okay. I can also add 8 over here. I get 4x is negative 4. If I divide that by 4, I get x equals negative 1. There are your two answers. Okay. If we look at D, now that 2 is on the outside, but it's not adding or subtracting, it's multiplied. So to get rid of it, we're going to have to divide by 2. So to get the absolute value of x minus 5 is equal to 5, which means x minus 5 is equal to 5, or x minus 5 is equal to negative 5. Add 5 on both sides, and you get that x is 10, or you get that x is 0. And there's your two answers. Okay. Now, once you go ahead and hit pause, try E. Once you've gotten it finished and you think you got the right answer, go and hit play, check your work. All right, so the first thing we have to do, like solving equations, we're going to have to subtract 12 first. Okay. If you did not subtract 12 first, if you divide it by 3, I need you to go ahead and hit pause, erase your work, try it again by subtracting 12 first. That gives you 3 times the absolute value of x minus 6, and that's equal to 12. Now we can divide by 3. We get the absolute value of x minus 6 is going to equal 4, which means x minus 6 is 4. It means x minus 6 equals negative 4. So if you add 6 to both sides, you get x is equal to 10, or you get x is equal to 2, and there's your two solutions. Okay. Once you go ahead and try F now. Okay. Hit pause, try it. Once you're done, then go ahead and put in, hit play, so we can double check those answers. Okay. So probably did x minus 3 is equal to negative 2, and then x minus 3 is equal to positive 2. So I'm going to go ahead and solve this, and I'm going to say, I'm going to add 3 on both sides. And so then I get x is equal to 1, and I get x is equal to 5. But let's double check that real quick. If you plug in 1 up here, you get the absolute value of 1 minus 3, which is the absolute value of negative 2. What's the absolute value of negative 2? It should be positive 2. But that equals negative 2, so that's not an answer. If you plug in 5, you get the absolute value of 5 minus 3, which is the absolute value of 2, which is also positive 2. But it's not there. So that's not an answer. Okay? Neither answer works on this. So actually we say this is no solution. This is no solution. Okay? Neither of our answers are going to work for this. And so we're going to get no solution. We can write, here, since I erase everything, because it's taken forever, okay? We can just write no solution. And the reason why, we know taking the absolute value always has to be positive. So could we ever take the absolute value of something and get a negative number? No, we couldn't. If you realize that the absolute value of something equals -2. No solution right away. Be very careful though. There's a trick. I'll tell you guys about it Monday about what we're going to do. Okay. But it's something that a lot of times you'll see in a textbook or you might see on a test or quiz like the one we're having next Friday. Okay. But remember, this is no solution because you can't have absolute value equal a negative. Okay, let's go ahead and come down here for a little bit. So now some examples, try a little bit application problems. The way that we're going to remember this, okay, we can set this up as we say that the absolute value of x minus the middle is going to be equal to our distance. Okay, so we need to find the middle between right here at 1 and right here at 9. Okay, so obviously right here, the middle is 5. 5 is directly between 1 and 9. So we set this up. The absolute value, the equation would be the absolute value of x minus 5 is equal to 4 because it's the distance from here to here. So the distance from 5 to 9 is 4, and the distance from over here is also 4. So we say that that equation is the absolute value of x minus 5 equals 4. Okay, let's try B, the first one, and then I'll have you do the last two on your own, and then we'll be done. A music CD will record an hour and a half of music plus or minus 3 minutes for time to change tracks. Well, an hour and a half is 90 minutes. An hour and a half is 90 minutes. And so that's going to be our middle value. That's why our average is going to be 90 minutes. So it's the absolute value of x minus 90. And it equals, we can go 3 minutes on either side. So that equals 3. And that's your equation. That's how we could set that up to solve it, to find out how many minutes the CD could be. Once you go ahead and try the next two, hit pause, try them, and then hit play once you've figured out to check your answers. All right. 13 ounces is your middle, so it's the absolute value of x minus 13 equals plus or minus 2 ounces. I mean, we can go 2 ounces either way, so that equals 2. And then a painter says you can paint a room in 2 hours plus or minus 15 minutes. 2 hours, okay, is 60 times 2. It's 120 minutes. That's going to be your middle. So we have x minus 120 equals 15 because you go 15 minutes either way. Or if you wanted to keep it in hours, that is 1/4 of an hour. We could say the absolute value of x minus 2 is equal to 1/4. Okay, so brand new. We've never seen it before, but I thought it was pretty easy for you. If you need to, you can always rewatch videos. Okay, rewatch this so it's there. Get some extra practice, but now you go ahead and get your homework from the substitute. Start working on it, and then we'll go over any questions you have on Monday. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.